What's up, y'all? Happy end of 2025. We made it. Here I am recording a video. I don't really feel comfortable doing it, but there's a reason for it. Why I'm doing this is a couple of reasons. One, it's the end of the year, so I feel like it's a time to reflect and kind of just digest everything that's going on in your life, maybe in the world, and that's kind of where I am with it. And hopefully this, will be a way of me not putting down on paper, but like putting down on iPhone at least. I need to get this out. I need to get it out of my system. So, I have all these stupid notes, but I'm going to try to just freestyle it, and hopefully it'll make sense on my thoughts that I've been trying to piece together recently. And two, also maybe even more importantly, is like I've been feeling this pull to create content. That's one of the big changes that I'm having towards the end of 2025. And so I hope that this will be kind of like maybe an origin story and an introduction to like what I'm trying to create and why you should give a shit about it. So it might be a little rambly at times. I might get lost in all these notes, but hopefully you'll bear with me and you'll get something out of it and you'll follow me and everything will be great and I'll be making millions on YouTube. But I guess we can start with like the main concept that's been kind of brewing in my mind, which is big cycles and little cycles, and the relationship between the two of them and how they exist in not only in like the big picture of the world and like economics and all that kind of stuff, but also like in your life and how they kind of rhyme with each other. So if we think about like businessy stuff, and I don't want to like bore you, right? But there's like the big cycles of booms and busts, for example, right? Like the Great Recession and the Great Depression, and then we had a boom period, and then blah, 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 blah. Then the empires like falling and new empires showing up and then them going down and new empires replacing them. That's another thing. And then maybe like even like tech eras, like the Industrial Revolution giving way to different, other technological revolutions. That's kind of the big picture. That's the macro cycle, right? There's also smaller cycles, micro cycle, which is kind of boring, like quarterly, business earnings reports or like seasonal growth patterns or like product life cycles, whatever you want. Where I think it's interesting is more in like your personal life. This kind of dynamic exists as well. I'm a little woo-woo, so I believe in like, zodiac, for example. Like I do think there's some credence to like what's happening in the stars and the constellations has some kind of reflection or something to do with what's happening in your daily life, right? And like the different shifts of eras in our own lives, right? Like as we go from childhood to puberty to adulthood, all the way down to retirement. I guess I feel that in the grand scheme of things, like in the world, we're at an inflection point. Like things are about to change. Like they're shifting. The tectonic plates of these very slow moving things are shifting in a new direction. And where I'm at in my life, I'm 37. I feel, mathematically, I might be halfway through my life, right? Maybe I'm having a midlife crisis and that's why I'm making this fucking video. But I feel a shift in my life and I can't help but see that there's some kind of relationship between what's going on in the world and the shifts there and the shifts that are happening in my life. And that's kind of why I'm recording this video, is because I feel a pull to do something different with my life, and that's the whole crux of this video. I'll be explaining to you what that is and why you should give a shit. So let's see, we're already up to the notes. I already forgot what the hell I was saying. 37, right? So like we're at the halftime. And in the halftime, you don't just go and keep doing exactly what you were doing before. You look at what you've done and you recalibrate and you change the path for the second half, right? So let me give you a little background on my story, if you don't mind me waxing poetic about my history. Ever since I was a kid, I was like super into like being an investor and learning about stocks. And like my goal was to be like a hedge fund manager. Like my grandpa used to call me like a little mini Alan Greenspan. He thought I was going to be like the next governor of the Federal Reserve. Sorry to disappoint you, Django. But yeah, like it's been a winding road for your boy. I still remember when I was like a kid, it was fifth grade, I think. Like Wachovia, this regional bank, came to our school and they put everyone into these groups to explain to us, why you should save and stuff. And this lady was like, how can you grow your money? And I remember this one kid in our class being like, stocks. And I thought he said socks. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, you idiot. But I didn't even know what stocks were. And that was like, I still remember like the first time I ever heard that word, and it like triggered interest in me. And then, fast forward a few years, like in seventh grade, another banker of some sort came to our class and did like a competition for like stocks. So everyone had to pick one stock out of the newspaper, and he was going to come back in 8 weeks, and whoever's stock had appreciated the most in those 8 weeks won like a gift certificate to Best Buy or GameStop or something. So like, your boy was trying to get that N64 game, and I ended up picking eBay. And this was like around 2000, so like when the whole tech boom was happening. So eBay did really well, and I ended up winning. And so that kind of like triggered the whole, snowball effect of like, I want to be Gordon Gekko, So like as I'm a teenager, I started like reading all these books. Like I was 15, I was like reading books about like the economy and like economics, and that was my path. And I get to college and I start taking like business classes, and I was killing it in like finance, economics, all accounting, all those types of classes. But I was partying too much, I guess, and I did not take calculus serious. I didn't think it was that important. I was like, I'm not going to be a math guy. I'm trying to make money in stocks. But apparently that's important, because they kicked me out of the business college, and I had to totally reshift my career path, or my, that event changed the whole course of my life, right? I was no longer doing business stuff. I was now in economic geography, which is kind of like GIS and like data analysis and like location analysis, which is like not really what I wanted to do, but it was kind of like tangentially related to economics and business stuff. So whatever. I got a degree. I didn't really take it that serious. I graduate to no job prospects. We're like, you have a degree in what now? You're a geographer? I wasn't able to get a job in the finance industry like I wanted. So I was kind of floundering for a while there. And I remember coming home from college and talking to my little brother, and he was in his room showing me like this website he had made. He had made a forum about video games, and he was making money on the website from ad revenue on like the visitors that were going to it. And I didn't even this didn't even enter my mind that this was a possibility. So, the little eureka went off in my brain, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to make money. I want to do business stuff. And I can do that because I don't need a stupid finance degree. I don't need stupid calculus. So I started learning everything I could about that. My poor brother had to teach me everything he knew about, WordPress and building websites. And at night I would just devour blogs and learn everything I could about internet marketing, essentially, SEO, stuff like that. And I was very passionate about it. I was excited. I saw such an opportunity. Keep in mind, this is like 2010. So like Facebook is new. People are building these little websites that are making them thousands of dollars. They're pitching like the 4-hour work week. So I was already imagining myself on a beach somewhere working 4 hours a week, just doing internet marketing stuff. And so, that career led me to where I am today. So I'm thankful for it. Like, it took an interesting path. And I think if it hadn't been for that, who knows? I might have been some douchebag stockbroker right now, like not making this amazing video that you're watching. But it was an interesting path, because I kind of got complacent to the idea. I was like, all right, well, it's too late. Like, I can't get into the finance industry because I don't have the knowledge or the skills or the degree that they want. So I'm going to run with this. And, fast forward to a bit later down the road, like 2020, the pandemic happens, and I take my internet marketing skills into like a different path. I try to get into like the startup stuff. I wanted to build this startup. I built something called Diet Menus, which is like a website to help you find meals that fit your diet. And thanks to my amazing friend Sean, I was able to get that off the ground. He helped me fund it, and it didn't really have the results I wanted. It failed, obviously, but thanks to that, I got into the tech industry more. I learned about like coding, and I learned about like working with designers and to build a product. I learned, and this was like the early days, like 2020, LLMs and like chatbots were very new. So I kind of dipped my toe into that, and that kind of took me down a different path too. So like in 2023, when ChatGPT really comes out, this all kind of comes full circle, right? I start to learn more about that. And it brings me to where I am today, where that's kind of reigniting these passions that I had forgotten about, these long dormant passions that I had of like investing and doing, like being a hedge fund manager, or like being a venture capitalist, starting startups. So I'm going to get to that, right? But that's kind of the micro story of my life, the path that it's been. But like I said, or maybe I didn't say, ever since the pandemic, it was a little bit of like, after diet menus failed, I felt very discouraged. And like the past few years, I've just been kind of like treading water and like overwhelmed by the possibility of AI and just too many different ideas. My shiny object syndrome, at a maximum, like sometimes, and other times just like over it and just like laying there and just consuming, doom scrolling and just over it. I didn't have the drive that I had when I got out of college and I discovered internet marketing. I didn't have that spark anymore. I had lost it. I had lost my North Star, essentially. And the whole point of this video is that I'm kind of rediscovering that thanks to AI and through this content that I want to make. And that's what I'm going to keep talking about. So that's my micro story. The content that I want to create is kind of about the macro side of things, right? These bigger patterns that I'm talking to you about. And I think we're at a super important inflection point in that as well, right? If we think about like the technological eras that I was talking about, there is, my battery's dying. This is gonna piss me off. I can tell already that the phone's gonna die. Anyway, they had the Industrial Revolution 1.0, which was like the 1800s to the 1920s. Railroads get built for the first time. Electricity comes on to the scene and changes everything. And that's a parallel, I think, to what we're having now, like a secondary industrial revolution, thanks to things like AI and crypto. And I see a correlation between those two things, between railroads and electricity and AI and crypto, right? AI is a lot more like railroads. The first time if you were back in the 1800s, picture yourself in the 1900s, the first time you get on a railroad, you immediately see the train, it's tangible, you get on it, you can see how that's going to improve your life and just make things more productive for you, right? Same thing the first time you ever get into a chatbot, the first time you ever chatted with ChatGPT, you're like, holy shit, this is going to change the game. It's very tangible, it's very obvious how that changes things. Electricity and crypto, a little bit different, right? Electricity, back then, obviously you didn't know anything about physics or like science. So you see this light bulb turn on, you're like, wow, that's cool. Okay, I don't need my candles anymore. But you have no way of knowing or seeing what, because you don't have the understanding, you're not going to be able to foresee all the massive changes that electricity is going to have down the line. That's kind of the same thing with crypto, right? Like, we don't really understand what's happening behind, like we see there's like Bitcoin and there's, NFTs of like people are paying thousands for pictures of apes and stuff. But it's unclear to us. Like, how does this work? It's confusing. It's like, I don't really get it. I know people say it's going to change the future, but I don't really understand how. And so why am I saying all that? I guess I want to, through this content, explain these kind of things to people. I think it's important to understand and see where the puck is going. And it just feels inaccessible because it's so, there's so many smart people out there, but they're making content that's just like at a high level. It's hard to understand. It's just like, fuck it. I'm not going to try to read all that. Like, I'm not going to try to understand this. I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about. So I'm hoping to be like the bridge between that and help you understand why these things are important, why you should care, and how these technological changes can have a real impact on your life. Like, I don't want to just make like stuffy academic content explaining things. I want to make it practical and inspirational so that you can change your life and feel the kind of excitement that I feel now at finding my North Star again and going full circle and rekindling some of my passions that I had as a younger man now in my midlife crisis. So notes, what do I have here? Where are we? Global, boom. Oh yeah, the other thing is like the empires, right? We're not just in a shift in terms of technology, we're at a shift in terms of like the empires. The American empire is at its most, I'm not trying to say like that we're about to collapse, but things are changing, right? It's like in the past, it was like the Egyptians, if we want to go way back, the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Romans, right? Like one empire bled into the next, like as the one went down, another one came up, right? And that's kind of what's happened with us and what is happening, right? Like World War II is kind of when we became this global power. And then there's the Cold War where we're fighting with Russia and, the Russia collapses and we become the top dogs. No one's messing with us. And that continues to be the case from, 90s when the Cold War ends to, today. But like now China is a new competitor that's rising and that is competing with us on a lot of different fronts. So that has massive implications for you and for our lives. And I think there's all these foundational structural things that are changing, like the dollar being the head honcho, the structural foundation of capitalism as we know it, right? Those tectonic plates are shifting, and that understanding this, knowing that, having a general understanding of this is going to help you reposition for your life and for your future, your kids, whatever. So I think it's important to be able to understand these concepts and draw parallels between these concepts and what's going on in your life. Next page. Actually, my phone's going to die, so let's. Okay, so all these things are changing in the world. And so it makes sense to me that like things are changing in my life too, right? Like as above, so below. If things in the big macro change, in the big macro cycle are changing, it's going to reflect in the micro cycles of your life, right? And that's kind of where I am, like I said, my youth was one thing, and then like I'm at this inflection point. I have like a dark night of the soul. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm having these existential questions like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Did I blow it? Blah, blah, blah. And recently I have been feeling that that's not the case. I've been feeling re-inspired. And that's why I'm recording this. I feel compelled to share this kind of knowledge so that you guys, maybe not, can also get excited about what's happening in the world and the benefits that it could have for your life, right? So, the first half of my life was very much about like consuming, right? I would just consume, read articles, watch videos, read books and stuff, but I just consumed. That's all I did, right? And now the second half of my life, I've realized that I want to do two things differently. One, I want to consume more intentionally, right? I don't just read now. I like take notes of stuff as I read and tie in with technology changes and how they can improve your life. As I'm reading these things and taking notes, I am chatting with AI to like joust with it, basically. Like, I didn't understand this concept, but explain this more. Okay, now I understand it better. Now I'm testing the assumptions though. Like, well, why is this? Like, what if this happens? I'm not just accepting it as it is. I'm really chewing on it intellectually, if you will, with the help of AI, and that helps me understand it better. And as you're taking notes and as you start to like tie these different concepts together, it's inevitable that you're gonna like synthesize different ideas and you're gonna come up with real insights, right? And to me, that's like the basis of intelligence. Intelligence is not like, oh, you know a bunch of shit, like who cares? That's knowledge, you're knowledgeable. But intelligence is being able to like see patterns between these different things and to connect ideas and to get meaningful insights out of it, right? So that's what I'm hoping to do. I want to be the bridge so that you can understand these hard to digest concepts. I want to explain them in a way that makes sense and is easy to understand. And not only that, I want to connect the dots and help you find the signal through the noise, right? There's so much noise with the more AI and content. You're just being flooded. You don't know what to listen to. And it's just noise. You're not getting the meat, the morsel, the juicy bits, the nuggets that can change your life, I don't know if I'm going to help you find them, but like, that's my goal. I'm trying. So, I'm talking about this big game. It's like, what are you synthesizing here, big guy? What are all these patterns that you speak of that you're finding? And yes, like I am explaining the big patterns and synthesizing things between like history and economics and technology changes, right? But like to what end? Like I said, I want it to be practical. And for me, it has been practical in the sense that like AI and all this whole shift in technology has helped me refine my North Star, right? Like I thought it was done. I wasn't sure what to do. And like now I've used AI to reclaim that dream, which was, if you'll recall my little history, to be like a hedge fund guy and to like learn how to trade and to trade my own money and like maybe do like venture capital stuff, like all those things that I thought I could not do because I didn't have the right education or because I didn't have the right credentials to join the industry. Now AI enables me to be able to do that on my own in a way that I never could have before, right? And that has been revolutionary for me. And that's what I want to impart to you guys. Like maybe your North Star is not to do tech shit, right? Or to like, you don't give a fuck about trading. That's fine, right? But what I'm trying to I want there to be something for everything, right? Like maybe you are a nerd and you're going to love then all the stuff that I bring to the table or that I explain about, tech and history and economics. But if you're not, what I want you to take away is that like your life doesn't have to fit into these little boxes of what's been the thing. So like what's been possible up until now, right? This new technology is changing what's possible. So like you can create your own reality if you learn how to harness these new tools the right way, and you don't just use AI to like make stupid videos of like whatever, or like just ask ChatGPT something you could easily Google. The people are using these tools in the wrong way, and they're not getting the full value out of it. So they're not seeing the potential, and they're not feeling the inspiration that I'm feeling right now of how this could change my life, for the better. So hopefully you'll get some of that. So I'll be specific, like what it means for me in terms of like now being able to be like a one-man hedge fund, essentially, right? I've always been trading my own money, like not successfully. I've lost so much money trading because I did it like a fucking idiot. I thought I was smarter than I was. So I would like read a bunch of tweets and articles and stuff from people, and I would just kind of like try to juggle it in my head, and then I would be like, okay, I think the market's gonna go down, so let me invest all my savings and try to catch this market correction. And then I didn't have a plan. I wasn't like, okay, when this happens I'm gonna do this, or I was just like going, what's the word, like just shooting from the hip. Now I'll figure it out as I go. And obviously that had the results that you can imagine. I got wiped out. I've lost thousands of dollars, and like I haven't given up. I keep going back to it because this is my childhood passion. But now I'm doing things differently thanks to the help of AI. I can take all these ideas and things that I'm reading and, like I said, joust with AI to really lock in my thesis and understand, like, what am I investing? Why do I think silver is going to be a good performer over the next 5 years? Why is it worth investing a big chunk of my life savings into this thing, right? And it's not just that. It's also like, what are the triggers? What are the triggers that are going to make this work, right? Understanding that. And now, okay, if I know that, like, these are the things I need to look at, how do I track these things? I'm not just tracking them in my head. I'm doing what hedge funds would do, which is they create software to track these things in real time and automatically pull in the data that they need to keep this thesis in their head and to, trade it in real time and to make adjustments to your thesis as these different things change, right? So I know I'm losing some people with that, but that plus like vibe coding. I don't know if you know what that is. If you're not in the AI field, you don't understand that like you can, the way you chat with ChatGPT, you can ask it to build you an app. You can just be like, hey, I want to build me an app that does X, Y, Z, and it'll code it all for you. And so that opens so many possibilities. So like I was saying, like the VC, like when I started Diet Menus, I didn't have any of this. I had to like slam my head against the wall to try to understand how to code this website. Now, AI could have coded this for me in one night, and it's not as easy as I'm making it sound, but don't let that hang you up. Like, it's amazing the opportunities that it creates, right? So you can do things that you weren't able to do before, right? And I don't have to like keep being in this field that I no longer am passionate about. I don't have to keep, treading water and just doing internet marketing stuff that no longer excites me. I'm now able to do things that I thought were dead to me with the help of AI. And so that's kind of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about. I want to make tutorials about, like I said, patterns and changes and finding the signal through the noise when it comes to history or technology or global economics. But I also want to show you how I'm using AI to take action on these insights, right? I'm not just doing it like as a mental masturbation. I'm doing it with the goal to make money and to like, it's not just about making money. It's also about like the intellectual joy that you get from, or at least that I get as a very intellectually curious person of being able to synthesize these ideas and do things that I thought could only be done in these massive organizations. So I hope I've given you a gist of like what I want to talk about. I'm just trying to give you a little flavor of it. Who knows if I'll be successful? I might lose all my money again and then never make another video. But I'm excited because all my interests are converging, right? Like my original love of technology, my original love of Wall Street type finance stuff is converging with the career that I chose in tech and how that's evolved. And with the realization that I've had that I don't want to just consume content, I want to create content. So like all these things together are why I'm recording this rambly video. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're not that interested in these things. I think it's important for you to have an understanding. It feels good to know like how the world is changing and to be able to understand it. And it feels even better to be able to act on that using these tools that are revolutionizing the world. And if none of that's interesting to you, at least it'll be interesting to see like how you can find your North Star, how you can use these tools to figure out what you love in life, figure out what that dream life looks like and how you can make it happen, even if that possibility didn't exist 3 years ago, right? Like the world's your oyster. These tools are not just some bullshit, light bulb moment. It's not like going back to the electricity example. I'm not just showing you a light bulb, like, look how cool, you have light now. It's all the things that come from electricity that are, lost to most people because they don't understand the concepts. That's what I hope that I'll be able to convey in this channel, which is called Venture Medley, by the way. I probably should have said that. And it's very much a fucking medley. It's like all over the place. Like I said, I'm not going to limit myself to one field or another. Who knows what I'll be talking about, but this is kind of the gist. This is my thesis. This is my mission statement, my vision, if you will. And I hope that you guys get some value out of it. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful rest of 2025, whatever's left of it, 24 hours. And that 2026 is going to be all of our year, and we'll be excited and kick ass. I think that's it. Thanks for listening. Love you guys. Peace out.